Alright. Alright. Got it working. I'm just trying to do some stuff around though. Just I'm a little too. Yeah. Alright. Just gotta see technical things. Working on some kinks. So it's been a lot of talk about this documentary about KingVon, and you all know KingVon's story. Definitely was a tragic ending to the story, but he left a legacy behind. So it's been years of controversy with Chicago artists, and it started a whole new genre, different back and forth beefs, pure street shit, and you never know half the stuff if it's true or not. But I think with Von is a little different because people in the game in Chicago rap, man, I feel like a lot of them, still live off that name. I said that name. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was rapping back then, or being affiliated with that rapper or that side, and for a lot of that time, Vaughn was locked up. So for him to get out and have as many speculations as this over people that have been doing it for a long time, or had to really make a name for themselves. It's like, you know, you got to take that into consideration too. But this documentary that I'm looking at today is brought to you by Trap Lord Ross. Um, I think they was trying to take it down, or they took it down, or something. Girlfriend in the back. I want to make her presence, felt in the room. We definitely feel it. But yeah, they were trying to take it down. But I don't know if this is like the right one, but Trap Lord Ross definitely does his info or research and does his digging. And that's another thing that a lot of people do on well, that came from the Chicago rap scene. A lot of that time when Von was locked up, it birthed people like Trap Lord Ross and DJ Academics, all those people who pretty much profited off Chicago music or Chicago in general. Uh, do I look at it as a bad thing? To some extent. Can I agree with it? I can agree with it. But, with some things, some decisions, when you do it, it definitely has some backlash to come with it. But, I don't know. And that's all about your mentality. But, let's get into it. Mind you, this is just my open and honest opinion. So, we'll leave it at that. I always have met him hella respect for Von though. But they got it like well my thing with the Chicago thing is like it's a lot of dead people dissing and like I can feel that. I can definitely relate to that. But with that, comes people saying things to you. So I can see that. I'm trying to.
From the rap game to have old enemies in Chicago kill, and going on a journey which, in my opinion, takes him far beyond a street player who had to kill to survive in the mean streets of Chicago. Because if KingVon's tweets are anything to go by, he simply loved killing people. The sheer amount of people that KingVon allegedly
Like that's a bold statement to make.
Intense speculation as to whether he was a full-blown serial killer.
I'm pause it. I'll restart it. Because I think he just made a bold statement right there. Oh, okay. So it's been a little time, so. So I want to see the chat while I'm watching the video. Yeah, I'm having technical difficulties. And yeah, probably should did that sooner, huh? Or maybe I can download it from YouTube still. But yeah, if you just tuned in, we're about to get a reaction to this Traveler Ross, a documentary on KingVon. You know, and it's crazy because you know, oops, that's what I get. But it's crazy because uh, back then I was around for all the Chief Keef era. Before that, you know what I'm saying, obviously, but stuff like this is like getting passed down to the younger generation. It's like their history. So it's not really like a surprise to me. You know what I'm saying? Like back then, you knew about certain people when Chicago artists started to blow up, and who was who in each one or each person camp or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? And just over time with music and how they live their life, they go to jail or die. It's like you kind of be like, dang, that was a minute ago. It's starting to get like that. So I'm definitely not surprised with them making a documentary about him. Now that he's gone, and like it's gonna be a lot more soon as the time comes. And I say that like Chicago artists that's doing life for real. They're doing life. And I'm saying some of these artists too. They got and or had intentions like mine. You know what I'm saying? If some of this is true, but it's been a lot of that stuff on the media. A lot of it, like for years. From the DJ academics to other places that or media sites that just you can just tell it's like you lying, bro. You can tell they just lying. This is like a fabricated story. He slid on him, and then he came back and slid on him. It's like, bro. Big as that person was, I don't know. They weren't just boldly like, you know what I mean? Or just like the circumstances, like they did this and then they like come out of all people, like All right, I don't know what's going on. All right, let's just go with the flow. Let's go with the flow. Another thing, always upgrade your Wi-Fi service. Even though some of these places claim they got the greatest Wi-Fi. See, I say that with all humbleness because I ain't gonna put nobody out there like that. Not no big company. Not right now. I might need it. Alright? But do your research on Wi-Fi, okay?
Warning, this video contains themes of violence, death, and gang activity. This video is for educational
Where
and
were that?
informatory purposes only. This video is not intending to incite or encourage illegal behavior in any way. Every effort has been made to remove any content which violates YouTube's community guidelines. If you'd like to see an uncut version of this video, everything that I can't show you on YouTube, head on over to patreon.com/trap4ross. Supporters of the channel also get access to my recent vlogs with Academics and Adam 22, as well as my old deleted KingVon videos, and supporters on the $5 tier will also have access to my exclusive 4-part Patreon series where I break down real crimes caught on camera which I could never show you on YouTube. But if you don't want any of that, just sit back, enjoy the video, and hit that subscribe button. Ever since the 1980s, gangster rap has been one of hip-hop's most fascinating subgenres. From the mean streets of gang-infested Los Angeles that were brought to life by early gangster rap pioneers like Ice Cube and NWA, to Tupac and Suge Knight taking over the music game with vivid tales of gang-affiliated rappers who would bully their way into the music industry. And then you have legends like Jay-Z and 50 Cent, whose tales of life and people just like him.
What makes it worse is a rainy day today.
Growing up with a lot of disadvantages. All that really separated Von from his victims were the fact that they were from a rival territory, and he believed that nobody would miss him. KingVon has officially been implicated in 4 murders, 2 where he was suspected of being involved, but the police didn't have enough evidence to charge. In one case, where he narrowly received a not guilty verdict after a key witness disappeared and a co-defendant implicated himself. Another that he's accused of organizing with 5 of his closest
I'm just gonna say that's crazy. Well, like, what a coincidence, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like, and this goes back to me saying, you know, the magnitude from that era, like, you know what I'm saying, back when Dirk, Keith, and everybody else was blowing up. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like Sosa, Dirk, King Louis, you know, obviously Kanye was like bringing, you know, so much money through the poverty-stricken parts of Chicago. So it's like, you know what I'm saying, Chicago's already a big city, you know what I'm saying? It's already probably like, your hustle probably double the amount of hustle at, you know, a smaller city would, you know what I'm saying, would do. So you just turned that up a notch. So imagine the type of money that's fumbling down to these 15, 16, 17-year-olds who watch these mob stories, who get taught by older people. So it would be so surprised, you know what I'm saying, if somebody, you know, involved. I don't know how he was at the time, but let's just say like 16 or 17. You know what I'm saying? We got 20,000 on standby. Just off the strip, you know what I'm saying? So and then he talking about the duck story, which is even more crazy because like You know, I feel like it's already out there because I guess apparently one of the dudes must have told, but ended up killing himself. That's wild, bro. That's like that lets you know probably like the magnitude of what's going on, and like I said, the amount of money that's going around. You know what I'm saying? If that's true, if that's true, so allegedly. If someone say that allegedly, but like still crazy when you think about it.
His childhood friends were shooting a rival rapper FBG Duck in broad daylight at a busy shopping district Von will never face justice for due to him losing his life only months before the feds would swoop in and arrest all 5 of his close friends. This particular murder would go down as one of the most brazen assassinations carried out in Chicago since the days of Al Capone. But in total, there's over 10 murders of which KingVon has been connected to over.
That's a lot of people. Not this Lemar guy. Look familiar. I wonder if that's the guy that made that diss song. Ain't that's the one that made the diss song? I think he made a diss, and it was like going at a bunch of people, and then he like died like what was like right after that. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I could be wrong. I did know somebody named Lil Mark making a song like that or dropping a song like that. But I could be wrong. But I think so. That's why I paused it really.
For the years, and nobody has looked into all of them in great detail until now. So today, we're going to take a closer look at the man, his past, and his career to find out once and for all if KingVon really was the first serial killer in hip-hop history.
He's been jailed for 2 murders?
Yeah, 1 murder and 2 attempts.
4 shooters and a hail of bullets.
All of them was scatter bomb. All of them was scatter bomb.
Police found several shell casings in this parking lot.
KingVon was bloodthirsty. He loved death. He loved killing.
Just 3, how many I think?
KingVon had an insatiable obsession with murder and violence.
The shooting leaves 1 person dead, 4 others injured.
It's probably the most demonic intro for real.
Considered like a serial killer.
They labeled the man a serial killer. Them.
So definitely like
Your unique tax situation deserves
a lot.
an expert who's just ready to do your taxes. Hand off your returns with TurboTax Live full service.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister, your brother's computer, and install Honey. Wait, Mom, before you check out,
Wow.
KingVon, real name Davon Bennett, was born on August the 9th, 1994.
Here we go.
Illinois. Growing up on West 78th and South Hermitage in an area known as Kilwall, an area mainly affiliated with the Chicago gangs, the Gangster Disciples, and the Black Peacestones. Von would attend Barton Elementary School in the area, but despite starting life as a fairly normal kid in Chicago, he would be subjected to the influence of gangbanging in his family home from a young age. His father was Walter E. Bennett, aka Silk, a well-known street dude from nearby Ada Park. Von was mainly raised by his mother, as his father was in and out of jail throughout his childhood. But Von's father was apparently a legend in the streets, with ties to the street gang, the Black Disciples. However, much like Von, despite the fearsome reputation he'd earned in the streets, it would ultimately be this proximity to gang life that would lead to his father's demise, as KingVon's dad Sil was dead when Von was only 11 years old, apparently being targeted by a sniper outside of a skating rink, according to an interview with KingVon's uncle.
Rest in peace, KingVon. Rest in peace, Sil. That's crazy. Like, I'm with Big Bro every day, man. Kill a day with a sniper rifle. This get deep, though, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, sniper. I hit him with a sniper rifle. They at the skating, but you know, that's another story.
It seems clear that KingVon's father Sil was remembered as a legend of the block. However, coping with the loss of his father at such a young age clearly had a negative effect on the mindset of a young KingVon. He would tweet and rap in freestyles years later that he simply couldn't sleep after his father's death. And throughout his teenage years, he would post RIP tributes to his father on Twitter to commemorate his birthday. Naturally, Von would follow in his father's footsteps, getting involved in local gang politics at a young age, with Von actually telling 16-shot visuals in his very first interview that he got involved in the streets in 4th grade, eventually getting his hands on guns by the time he got to high school.
You got toting pipes in 4th grade, like when you started.
Damn. When I was growing up, it was not that. Like, and that's the difference from my city. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Like, this is about an hour away from Chicago, and we're a predominantly black city. All right, like, people think because we an hour up north, it's fucking milk and cows and no. People literally come here and get stuck here for real. Cause the black utopia, bro. And the way we grew up, it was just fighting. A lot of fighting. It was fun growing up. Like being in the city of Chicago, like you exposed to so much more. It's a big, wide open playing field, like for real. But in their case, it was like as big as Chicago is, all this violence happened 3 blocks from each other. It's crazy, right?
Kind of played to like what? Yeah, like late 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. It really got to that point where you gotta hurt somebody or somebody trying to hurt you and you gotta protect yourself.
Von would rap on the unreleased song Wait that he jumped off the porch, getting deeply involved in gang politics in 2006 when he was just 12 years old. Von would initially be a member of a local street crew affiliated with the Gangster Disciples called Killerwall, being seen in numerous group pictures with that crew. And affiliates from the area would later post tweets suggesting that Von was indeed putting in work for this crew during his time gangbanging in Killerwall, with Von himself corroborating that he was close to the members in Killerwall where he was born, but making it clear that he's always been a member of the Black Disciples due to his family affiliation. Now, Von would live around Killerwall up to around 2008 or 9, after which he would eventually move to the infamous Parkway Gardens housing development. This housing complex is notorious for its affiliations with the Black Disciples street gang. Parkway Gardens would later be referred to by insiders as O Block, but prior to that, it was referred to as Wick City.
Oh, damn. Here's some Killerwall first, and moved to O Block in 08. Is that what he said? It's not a long time.
He would meet many of the people who would end up
putting in work at that guns and stuff.
People famous for their affiliation to O Block, whether through the gang wars going on there or through the music that had been made.
Early.
People like Boss Top, Chief Keef, T-Roy, White, Duke, BJ, Big A, Trey 5, Sharoid, J Money, Platoon, and countless other people that played a big role in Von's life growing up. Von would also attend a youth school in the area, the Hyde Park Academy, where he would attend with people from other rival territories with affiliations to the Gangster Disciples. People like FBG Duck, who would even claim in a Twitter exchange in 2014 to have plotted to beat KingVon up on the school bus, and people like Lil Mark, who Von would even be seen in throwback pictures with before their feud had escalated into something deadly. Von and his friends started out their gangbanging careers with fistfights with the opposite school, schoolyard scuffles that would unfortunately escalate over the coming years, developing into full-blown gang war with firearms involved. Over time, a teenage Von would begin getting more and more involved in Chicago's gang conflicts, apparently bringing guns to school as young as age 13. Chop Squad, who went to school with both Von and G Herbo, would claim that Von would even show off guns in class, with it apparently being Von himself who started the trend of teenage gangbangers in their school bringing guns to class.
Bro. That's crazy, right? Like, bringing heat to school, that's like normal around that time. And this is what? High school? High school was fun, don't get me wrong. Like, we did bad shit. But so I was on the sports team, so, I had to do my bad shit low key. But like, I definitely was around, you know what I'm saying, a lot of bullshit, a lot of people. So, you know what I'm saying, they ain't playing sports, they ain't got nothing to care about. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big difference how, it was. It's crazy.
I'm the type of person to bring a pole to school at 13. Like, that's what me and Harry was talking about. He was like, he knew it was real when Von walked up to him in school. He was like, he had flashed the pole or something. He was like, Harry knew every day from there it was up. He was like, oh, we bringing guns to school? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's on now. He's like, every day from there, everybody brought guns to school. He's like, Von was the one to start that off.
In fact, G Herbo would even later rap about this on a collaboration with Von called FaceTime, saying that Von showed him a revolver in freshman orientation, an experience which led G Herbo to begin bringing guns to school himself too. Now, KingVon was apparently out of control as a youngster. According to one story, Von actually did a shooting on prom night whilst wearing his suit, after literally tweeting out that somebody better not try him in his suit. So naturally, you can imagine, Von ended up spending a significant amount of time in trouble with the law as a teenager, with large patches of his most formative years spent inside jail cells. Von went to jail for the first time around August 2010 at age 16 for armed robbery, apparently robbing someone for their car at gunpoint, something that he would actually later refer to on his song Armed and Dangerous, saying that he was arrested on August 11th, 2 days after his 17th birthday, when he was offered 21 to 45 years in a plea deal. Von would end up spending time in boot camp, an intense military-style juvenile program, ultimately rewarding him with early release. But soon after Von would catch another in January 2011, ultimately spending 15 months behind bars as a juvenile, being locked up between December 2010 and March 2012. And during this time of incarceration, Von's best friend T-Roy would tweet calling for his release. Eventually, in March 2012, Von would be a free man once again, but he was only free for a matter of months, from March to November 2012. But during this time, Von would undergo a transformation, going from a gun-toting stick-up kid to a full-fledged killer after witnessing the death of one of his close friends, which, as he put it, turned him into a demon.
It's crazy because Von said that in his song.
Do you see this award?
And I know what song you're talking about.
My twin brother Rasmus got this award because we made over $50 million online. Listen, I'm 27.
Another ad. No, I'm definitely not going over the whole 3-hour mark of this video, but first segment, see how it is, and then
before we get into the first
follow up on the rest.
KingVon was allegedly involved in, I just want to take the time to consider the real reasons why he would be motivated to kill in the first place. Despite covering a lot of gangsters who were hardened killers, it's important to consider the social
Because you're covering a lot of stuff that
for a teenage boy to start committing
we
murders.
already know.
Firstly, these areas where KingVon grew up in Southside Chicago, Killer Ward and O Block, are incredibly poor and dangerous areas, with the latter even being described by the local Sun-Times newspaper as the most.
So, funny thing about O Block, right? That, you know what I'm saying? Probably that a lot of people don't necessarily, I'm gonna say, realize. It's like, you know what I'm saying, Chicago is a big city and that gets promoted, and people from other cities might think that is like two separate areas. You know what I'm saying? It's far from each other. You know what I'm saying? They gotta get there or whatever. All this violence is literally within 3 blocks. Like, it's like Parkway, it's a gated project. You know, we got entrances there on the entrance side where, you know, it's 64th or whatever. That's literally the entrance into O Block on that side. And then there's a store, plaza, or whatever, right across the street. And along that block, just off to the left, there's like that plaza entrance, and then there's a corner. And that's that block. Was Duck Block, St. Lawrence. And when you make left, go to the corner, they had their store. That's how close it was. That's how close it is. So it's like, damn. All this. You know, it's crazy. It's just crazy to me because, like, in Milwaukee, definitely like an area. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no block beef. Really. It's clicking. You know, a bunch of clicks, really.
Dangerous block in Chicago. Part of the reason why so many of these gang murders in Chicago go unsolved is due to the failure of policing in these areas. Someone like KingVon grew up seeing death and destruction as a completely normal thing. And if the police never come to your area to solve crimes or deliver justice, it's easy to see why you would place more trust in street justice than in the state. Furthermore, you really have to ponder whose fault is it really that somewhere like O Block ended up being so poor and dangerous. While it's easy to blame the gangsters and killers there for cultivating a lawless environment, the city and the state politicians ultimately have failed to create the economic circumstances for someone to grow up safely in these areas. Had there been better economic prospects in the hoods of Chicago, perhaps many of these young men wouldn't have been forced into a life of crime and violence. Furthermore, when it comes to the analysis of KingVon's eventual transformation into what some have described as a serial killer, there's actually an argument to be made that geography may have played a part in KingVon feeling like he could get away with so many murders. The 70s to the 2000s have actually been described as the golden age of serial murder. And one possible cause for this phenomenon around this period has been cited as urbanization and the concentration of inner city living. Some people have said that putting so many people in such close proximity ends up offering a unique level of anonymity when it comes to committing crimes in these complicated, busy, and overpopulated areas. Put simply, this means that in O Block, the sheer amount of people, overlapping gang conflicts, and normalization of violence on the streets means that somebody like KingVon could kill multiple people without attracting too much attention to him personally. As sad as it is to say, in the eyes of the cops, a victim is just...
Wow. That's crazy. Because, like, in comparison to my city, eight times out of 10, you shoot somebody, you probably gonna get caught, even if nobody tells. Just the evidence, you know, how stuff play out, because it's a small city. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll hear a bunch of times they'll say, people say, damn, Milwaukee small, you know this person. All because of one conversation. One simple, I went here, where you go, wherever. Most likely you don't know somebody. And Chicago was like, wow. It is that big.
Another casualty of the gang war rather than a specific crime that could be solved. And it's these circumstances that were the perfect conditions for a young KingVon to begin killing people in his community with minimal consequences. And whilst KingVon was in jail, gun violence had raged on between the black disciples from Wick City and the rival gangster disciples from St. Lawrence and Eberhard Avenues, or STL-EBT. And during this time, whilst KingVon was incarcerated, a 15-year-old gangster disciple from the rival hood by the name of Tuka was murdered.
Now, I know that ain't true. That little diagram you just gave. Or wait. It could have been true. I could have been tweaking because I ain't look at the map, but it looked like there was in two like far areas. It's not far at all. You can man, you can definitely walk. Definitely walk. An elder person can walk. That's how close it is. Like for real. It's not that far.
Real name Shondale Gregory, Cooper was shot dead at a bus stop on the 600 block of East 63rd Street on the 12th of January 2011 at around 6:48 p.m. It was around that time that a masked gunman jumped out of a vehicle, shooting Cooper several times. Cooper was hated by his rivals from the Black Disciples, and over the next decade, BDs would continue to disrespect him on social media and in popular songs. And in honor of their fallen friend, gangster disciples from St. Lawrence and Eberhard would rename their area Tuckerville. It's never been fully revealed to the public who killed Tucker, but ever since, there has been intense speculation that a boy named O.D. Perry from Wick City might have had something to do with it. This is partly due to him being pictured regularly with a silver revolver, and the witness report from the Tucker murder stated that Tucker was actually shot with a long-barreled silver revolver. Regardless of whether or not O.D. was really the person who killed Tucker, that didn't really matter, because later that year, on August the 10th, 2011, in an act of retaliation, O.D. Perry was killed just outside Parkway Gardens. He would suffer multiple gunshot wounds, including one to the neck, at about 11:35 p.m. Just like Tuckerville, Wick City was also renamed in the memory of their fallen friend O.D., O-Block. And it's believed that one of the shooters who killed O.D. was a female teenage shooter by the name of Jakira Barnes, or K.I. Following the murder, K.I. would begin to pose on social media with a silver revolver, similar to the one that O.D. was known to carry. And her rumoured involvement in this murder of a beloved O-Block member would lead to K.I. becoming a major target herself, with matters not helped by the fact that she would regularly tweet insulting O.D. Perry and alluding to having killed him, along with others who would openly claim that K.I. made the O, meaning that she killed O.D. and was the one that caused Wick City to change the name of their block to O-Block. But the
It's like how do he be knowing that? You know what I'm saying? Like how do y'all be knowing that's true? It's like it had to be somebody there. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like with the Jakira and Odie thing, no disrespect intended. I don't think it's disrespectful, but, you know. It's like there's speculation there. You know what I'm saying? People going out there speculation, you know, because of how it was. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was literally openly dissing each other. Openly. And, but that Odie, it's like he did that. Trap Blood Ross did his research. He put that out there. Odie still of silver revolver and Odie was taking pictures of. He put that together. I feel like it was like if that's true, like you know what I'm saying, that's one fact. I guess.
The tragedies in O-Block were far from over. On the 18th of October 2011, another O-Block native by the name of Platoon, real name Edward Riley, would be shot dead inside O-Block after being approached by two people with firearms. Another devastating loss to the community would come when 19-year-old Sherroyd Liggins would be shot in the head and left for dead on February the 16th, 2012, also at O-Block. This murder was particularly notable for the fact that it was believed that Sherroyd was killed by a Tuckerville shooter by the name of Boss Trell. As the gang war in his neighborhood continued to take more and more of his friends' lives, KingVon would get more and more involved, continuing to play a role in the gang war going on in Chicago's street underworld. Von later rapped on the song Don't Want to Be Me that everything changed for him in 2012, and that this is when he decided to get more active in the gang war, with Von saying specifically that the deaths of OD and Platoon completely changed his plans and led him to put on a mask and get active in the gang war. Now, there's a lot of speculation about the exact murders that Von was allegedly involved in, and we might never know definitively if he was truly involved in all the violence that he was rumored to be associated with, but the very first murder that Von was associated with took place on April the 28th, 2012, when a group of 4 men would catch a man called King Doc, real name Marlon Monroe, shooting him as he walked into a convenience store, with Doc apparently stumbling into a patch of tall weeds after the shooting, where he would pass away and lay undiscovered for hours. Doc would eventually be found dead by his 16-year-old cousin, Modell McCambry. Doc would be remembered as an original native of St. Lawrence and Eberhart Avenues, with his affiliation to the area likely the reason that the killers from O-Block would target him, despite the fact that Doc had apparently left the gang life behind him, becoming a painter to get out of the streets. Apparently hurt by the death of his cousin, Modell, that boy who discovered Doc's body, would then begin to get more involved in the gangs in the area too, beginning to hang around with people like K.I. and FBG Duck, as well as being seen on social media with guns. In fact, it's actually around this time that social media begins to play a bigger and bigger role in the gang war in Chicago. And during this time, KingVon himself would become a prolific user of Twitter, beginning a flurry of activity on the platform after signing up in June 2012, and going on to tweet constantly about his activities in the streets, seemingly with no fear about incriminating himself. Von would openly claim to be drilling in the name of O.D. Perry. He would say that he was like Phineas and Ferb in the streets with his best friend and fellow O-Block shooter T-Roy, warning ops not to diss them, claiming to shoot people like it's nothing. He would tweet that he's been drilling from young and even wants to kill cops too. He would say outright that he will whack people. He would regularly diss numerous rival hoods and gangs, and be claiming to be paranoid due to having so many people trying to kill him. Von claimed on Twitter to get so enraged whenever he hears the name Tucker or St. Lawrence that his trigger finger just starts itching. But during this time that Von was tweeting openly about all the crimes that he was willing to do in the streets, these crimes would continue to play out. On August the 7th, 2012, Von would make a tweet saying,
hate somebody that much.
And it smells like a graveyard. Then, in the early hours of the morning the following day, on August the 8th, 2012, a group of guys from O-Block, rumored to include KingVon and T-Roy, would be out looking for enemies to kill. Dirty Rel, real name Terrell Joshua, an older member with affiliations to St. Lawrence, Eberhart, and Jarrow City, who had actually moved out of Chicago but was back in town, would end up being shot dead and found on a sidewalk on the first block of East 56th Street in Washington Park just before 3:30 a.m. However, in this case, retaliation would come fast. As the day of August 8th, 2012 goes by, that same evening, around 11:30 p.m., KingVon is out with his close friend White, real name Tony Dunn. They would go to a convenience store together on East 63rd Street and South Martin Luther King Drive. Here, Von would go inside the store whilst White waited outside. At this point, a gunman pulls up, shooting White in the back, with a police officer on the scene even returning fire and hitting the shooter, who ultimately managed to escape. White would be pronounced dead in the early hours of the morning on August the 9th, 2012. This day just so happened to be KingVon's 18th birthday. This was a devastating incident for Von, who would tweet numerous times about the murder of his friend Whitey, including this one where he said that he had just bought Whitey a pill and gone inside the store, only coming back outside to find a crowd surrounding his shot friend and at first believing that Whitey would be okay. After this, Von would tweet messages saying that this killing is what led him to act out, and in the days following, he would be pledging to kill his enemies publicly. Von later allowed him to his mindset around this period in his song Demon, saying outright that witnessing the death of his close friend Whitey on his 18th birthday is the exact thing that turned him into a demon. And Von would rap that after this, him and his right-hand man T-Roy would be doing hits back-to-back to avenge this tragic loss. Von would apparently be trying...
You know how much digging he had to do? So much digging. Like, like you went back and looked at the tweets, the report and everything. Like, Put two and two together, you know. But didn't Vaughn give us that depiction? He bring it right. He revolved it right back to his music, right?
To kill much more ruthlessly after this, desperately wanting to get at rival shooters KI and Wooski, who had mocked White's death on Twitter. In September 2012, KingVon and others caught KI on the train, apparently beating her up and mocking her on Twitter in the aftermath. Von would eventually catch up with KI in much more deadly circumstances, but not for a couple of years. For now, he would continue to gangbang in the streets with his O-Block brothers like T. Roy, ultimately winding up implicated in numerous murders as he continued to seek revenge for the murder of White, and one body at a time, building up a fearsome reputation as one of O-Block's most ruthless killers.
I didn't know you had to go do some digging for that one. The murder of Modell. This nigga got this shit set up like
Chicago
forensic files.
shot and visuals in an interview that if you hung around KingVon in 2012, you simply
You should give me one.
that you would be in shootouts.
If you was hanging with Vaughn, you had to accept everything that came with Vaughn. You had to accept that you was going to be in shooting. You accept that it was going to be that, and you had to be with it. You feel me? With Vaughn.
KingVon was on a mission in 2012 to get revenge for the friends that he had lost to the gang war. Losing OD, Platoon, and White turned him into a demon, he said. So he would spend every day in the streets of Chicago stalking his ops and broadcasting his activities on Twitter for the whole world to see. On September the 6th, 2012, Von would get arrested, even taking selfies for Twitter inside of the cop car. He would post pictures of him and his partner in crime, T. Roy, dubbing themselves the O-Block Savages. In fact, after posting one picture together, one woman from O-Block even suggested that Von and T. Roy stop being photographed together in case somebody sends it to the police. Von would tweet how him and T. Roy's names were ringing in the streets and that people were praising them for doing their thing, regularly using this as a catchphrase to refer to his drilling, tweeting warnings to the ops that he's about to go on their block and do his thingy thing, telling them that they have 2 hours to clear the streets and promising to blast them on sight. Von would even reflect on a conversation that he had had with T. Roy, saying that they can't die soon because they know they're going to hell for all the bad things they had done in the streets. Von would even openly tweet about shooting up Dunbar High School around this time. And unsurprisingly, he would continue to be in the eyes of the law, being picked up in October for battery. But little did the police know just how serious Von's crimes were about to get in the coming weeks. On the 13th of October 2012, Von tweeted that he is about to pop these pills and spaz out on somebody, expressing frustration that he hasn't taken anybody down for a while and saying that he's getting dry. Perhaps a tweet with a double meaning that could refer to sex or murder. That very same day, Von would tweet that his ops party tonight is getting cancelled. Later, Von is tweeting
Journalism
to come and get him. And 30 minutes later, Von tweets simply, "Ha," followed by 45 Glock me. That very night of October the 13th, 2012, Modell, that same team who had found the body of his cousin King Doc dead just 6 months before, would be walking down the street with another one of his cousins on their way to meet a girl. When just before 9:30 p.m., somebody approached them on foot, opening fire. Modell would be shot in the chest and later pronounced dead in hospital. But no one was ever charged with this murder or attempted murder. But many years later, police documents would be released revealing that KingVon himself was positively identified by a witness as the shooter, with T. Roy apparently at the scene too. This meant that KingVon was the prime suspect in the murder. And not only that, but KingVon would tweet immediately after the killing. Now, it's important to remember that Twitter timestamps run on Universal Coordinated Time. That's the same as UK time, and that's where I'm reading these tweets from, which is 6 hours ahead of Chicago time. So for me to get the exact time of a tweet that was made by KingVon or KI or somebody else in Chicago, I have to take the time that it shows on Twitter and minus 6. I'm telling you this because Modell was shot around 9:30 p.m. That means that KingVon tweeted who died about 17 minutes after the murder of Modell took place. And that tweet was followed by yet another one reading, "It's not safe around our way," which came less than an hour after the shooting. And Von's "Who died?" tweet would provoke responses from somebody who even knew Modell, with Von saying that the dead person is somebody that they know. In addition to that exchange, the female shooter from Tuckerville, KI, would end up getting arrested not long after this for apparently shooting indiscriminately into O-Block, hoping to kill anybody in retaliation for Modell. None of this seemed to bother KingVon, however, as he clearly got a lot.
That's wild. That's wild, bro. That is wild. Fuck, I'm whoever over there. Because if you think about O-Block, it's like a gate, and it's like, you know, at the entrance, it's like you just have to walk down the street. Man. There you go.
Lot of satisfaction out of having seemingly killed again. The day after the murder of Modell, Von would tweet that him and T-Roy have a problem and that they can't stop doing their thingy thing. Von would tweet that the streets are in trouble when he's coming, and he would brush off the cops' attempts to arrest him. In fact, only 2 days after the killing, he would get into an argument with a well-known Tuckerville GD known as Wooski on Twitter. Wooski had inferred that he had been out looking to catch Von that day, asking him where they were at, with Von leaving a heartless reply saying that he was getting t-shirts made for Modell's funeral. Unsurprisingly, Von would find himself on the radar of the police following the murder of Modell, getting picked up for unlawful possession of a firearm and being questioned in October 2012, with Von later tweeting that the cops grabbed him and warned him to be careful. Apparently the cops even told Von that when they question their ops, they all talk about him and T-Roy, suggesting that their names are feared in the streets. Von would even tweet after that his own mother was beginning to hear the rumors about his violent behavior in the streets, and she was trying to put him on punishment. But Von wasn't deterred, and he kept using Twitter to increase his reputation as a killer. The following month, Von would be sending unprovoked Twitter ats.
You just know the tempo, huh?
He knew who killed Modell, provoking responses from numerous ops who wanted to see Von dead, including Wooski and KI. And to me, this is where we see KingVon really beginning to take pleasure in killing. For years to come, he would tweet mocking Modell, saying it's messed up what happened to him and that he's a straight sucker. It's this sort of behavior where I believe that Von crosses the line from a normal gangbanger killing to survive to a full-blown serial killer who is taking the lives of others systemically for his own personal gratification. At this point, Von has already satisfied the conditions of being a serial killer, having allegedly killed more than 3 people in different locations with large periods of time in between the killings. And his tweets express a clear tendency to take pleasure in killing and a desire to show the world what he's doing. In a way, KingVon's purpose in life at this point in time wasn't just revenge and murder for sport. It was about doing these crimes and giving the world clues about what he had done. And as the story goes on, you'll see KingVon constantly hint towards his crimes on social media, in his music, and even on television. But now, the pattern had emerged, and Von clearly had a thirst for blood. He was becoming a talented shooter and not facing any consequences for these crimes. And so, in the coming months, Von would be rumored to have been connected to at least 3 more murders, with the police only catching up to him when it was too late.
Wow. Was it too late though? Ron was definitely a free man.
Monday.com makes GANs great again. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to say again because they never were, and they're complicated. See, with Monday.com, making a GAN chart is as simple as throwing a...
And definitely more than once. If you read the word charts, so you should.
In late 2012, Von was earning a reputation as a feared shooter in the Chicago gang wars, something he would be more than happy to broadcast to the world. Von would be seen in clips posted to social media, sliding in cars with his partner in crime T-Roy and others, throwing up gang signs and saying that they're smoking Tuka.
Yeah. Yeah. Look.
Zico. Both of the Zardels.
And he'd be seen with his boys mobbing deep in trap houses. With the gang to the local store. Von was surprisingly open about his gangbanging life on social media, and he would be particularly active on Twitter during these violent months. He would tweet openly that he was planning to shoot at random people in traffic. He would tweet that he is STLK, or a St. Lawrence killer, and interestingly, around these times, on the 18th of October,
So I told you, it was
O'Block native Chief Keef would release
at the corner.
his song Love Sosa, a legendary Chicago drill anthem with lyrics about killing people for disrespecting O'Block. At this point in 2012, Chief Keef had become a global rap star off the back of his single I Don't Like, which was given an all-star remix by Kanye West, and ended up landing at number 73 on the Billboard charts. That song had lyrics about the gang wars in Chicago and lives being lost, and Chief Keef's music was becoming legendary for painting a picture of reality on Chicago's most dangerous block. Of course, who could